Indicates that the Democratic People's Republic of Korea recently provided Russia with ballistic missile launchers and several ballistic missiles. On the 30th of December, 2023, Russian forces launched at least one of these North Korean ballistic missiles into Ukraine. This missile appears to have landed in an open field in the Zaporizhia region.
You know what I've learned in life is you should, at all price, avoid having multiple enemies in a set of space, whether it's at work or in an organization, wherever you are. You should always avoid having multiple enemies because it doesn't really matter how strong you are. It's going to come a time where they're going to come together. They're going to cooperate against you. They're going to put things together. And trust me, you might have been a very strong person against one of those enemies. You know, you could have been perhaps unbeatable if you had to face one by one. But if they came together against you, trust me, what enemy number A doesn't have, certainly number B or C has. So they will complement together against you and they will could form a very strong opposition. So Russia moves forward with Iran to purchase ballistic missiles, report says. The Russians are moving to Iran to get what they need. Russia reportedly moving forward with the deal to purchase short-range ballistic missiles from Iran. You know, Russia's been at war against Ukraine for a while now. And obviously, as any intelligent person would think, Ukraine was a battlefield, not really Ukraine fighting against Russia, but it was the whole of Europe, the whole of Western nations fighting against Russia. And most of them were expecting Russia to have their equipment depleted, to use everything that they have in Ukraine. But Russians, you can see very intelligently, they tried not to spend everything they had in Ukraine. And for that, even to try to build themselves up, to avoid having nothing to fight with, they've been cooperating with some countries. Who are they cooperating with? Clearly, countries that don't like Europe and Western nations. The official says the missiles will boost Russia's ability to target Ukrainian infrastructure at a time when support for continued U.S. military assistance for Kiev is waning in the Congress. So America right now they're not as hot as they were in supporting Ukraine. So Ukraine is almost by themselves fighting the Russians now. The United States is concerned that Russia's negotiation to acquire short-range missiles from Iran are actively advancing, one of the U.S. officials told the Journal. We assess that Russia intends to purchase missile system from Iran, and they don't like that. Yeah, this is very funny because, again, like I said, you must always avoid having too many enemies because at the end of the day, they're going to come together. They're going to work together because we live in a world where, let's just be honest, okay, most of the people that do not agree with the US are sanctioned. Okay, most of the people that want to live their life in their own terms, in their own way, will be sanctioned. I'm just saying. I mean, yeah. What has Cuba done? Cuba has been sanctioned since the 1960s. Why? Because they refuse to let Americans and international companies to come and run their country, to come and export and exploit their country. That's the reason why they sanction. In Cuba, you cannot import cars. They don't have brand new cars. If you look at Cuba, they still drive those old school 1960 cars. In Cuba, there's no Pepsi, Coca-Cola. In Cuba, there's none of those stuff. No new technology because they've been cut off of the world. Why have they been cut off of the world? They've been cut off because the United States inflicted sanctions to Cuba because Cuba decided not to agree with them. And very recently, the United Nations sat down to discuss Cuba's situation. They said Cuba has been sanctioned for way too long. We need to stop. Everybody said, okay, let's remove the sanctions against Cuba. There are two countries that refuse. Guess which ones? Two countries that refuse after all these years to remove the sanctions against Cuba. It was the United States of America and Israel. Obviously, they are brothers for some reason. Don't Cubans deserve to have a good life, to cooperate with other countries, to deal with other people? It's very sad. But that's what I'm saying. What have Cuba has done? Nothing. I mean, you could let them live their own life. If they don't want you in their country, they're not happy with you exploiting or you getting minerals or any underground riches from their country. I mean, leave them. It's their country. Why do you want to force yourself? The same thing is happening in Uganda. Uganda has been kicked off of AGOA. AGOA is a program that helps African nations to export stuff to the United States and make some money without necessarily having to pay the price of the tax. Uganda has been kicked off. Why? Because Ugandans have voted a law that concerns Ugandans. This is a law for Uganda. Why do you care? If Ugandans want to live life the way Ugandans want to live their life, the way they have lived life for thousands of years, who are you to come and tell them how to live their life? I mean, nobody comes to the U.S. and tell the U.S. this is what you have to do, or any other country. Why should somebody tell you these are the clothes you should be wearing? You should be wearing green color or blue color. Nobody has. I mean, if you don't do that, then we don't talk anymore. I think this comes a level where you need to sort of slow down a little bit and let other people do their own things. Unless they're doing something really tragic, something really drastic, obviously not good, then you can react. But if it's just one law here and there that is not necessarily doing anything actively every single day, well, why do you bother? Everybody has their own way of life. So now Russia, unlike the way many European countries expected them to behave, they were sanctioned in all ways. They were hoping that Russia will be crumbling, they will be struggling, they will be in poverty. They cut off Russia from the SWIFT system. For those of you who don't know, the SWIFT system is a system that allows people to send money from one place to another. Let me give you a simple example. If you are in Africa, for instance, that you want to send money to a brother in London, or if you're in London, you want to send money to somebody in your African nation, it's SWIFT that allows you to send money to your banking details, your banking account, to somebody else's account. If you are not connected to SWIFT, you cannot send money directly to somebody. You have to go either physically give the money, or you have to send somebody with the money. Now, Russia had been cut off SWIFT, so they could not deal with any other nations. But they found ways because they are prepared. They found ways with the help of China and other people. They still growing strong. We don't necessarily agree with Russian politics, but the way they are being treated for choosing to be Russian, I think people, not just the Russians, now Iranian and North Koreans and Cubans and Ugandans, it raises a question. They say the United States is concerned that Russia's negotiations to acquire close-range ballistic missiles from Iran are actively advancing. Why are they worried about that? That is Russia and Iran's deal. It has nothing to do with America. Obviously, they feel like arming Russia would make Russia stronger because they are actually the one fighting Russia in Ukraine. It's not a good thing because the goal was to shut Russia down, to show that Russia is nobody. But they failed to achieve that. Now, there's another growing concern. The growing concern from the US is that strengthening cooperation between Moscow and Tehran could bolster Iran's ability and capability in the Middle East and an economy crippled by Western sanctions. So, cooperating with the Russians would allow Iran to boost its military, and that is very dangerous for America. America doesn't like it because Iran and Israel don't get along very well. And having a very strong Iran militarily is very dangerous for Israel and other countries that are American friends. And so what do you expect if you have issues with Russia and Iran? They're going to come together. I mean, when America was okay with Russia, Russia did not provide anything to Iran or anything to North Korea. Okay, you can be okay. We just respect each other, I don't like you, but let's respect each other. But as soon as you get into an open war with me by supporting a country that's fighting me, by sending weapons to fight against me, what do you expect I'm going to do? I'm going to go find your enemy. I'm going to be its friend. That's exactly what Russia has done. Russia has gone to Iran asking for ballistic missiles. And trust me, this is not for free. And even if Russia pays with money, it won't just be money. It will certainly be with technology as well, the same way they have done with North Korea. Okay, we know North Koreans a while back were trying to send satellites on orbit for espionage, for spying purposes. They couldn't do it. They did not have the technology. But when Russia went to North Korea asking for ammunition, 2 weeks later, boom, North Korea sent satellites on orbit. How did they achieve it? Obviously, they got the technology from the Russians. I think you need to weigh your way around how many enemies you want, how many people you want to put to the side. And I also feel like sometimes you need to use the soft side of things, not push people to a way where they have nothing else to lose. When people have nothing to lose, they become extremely dangerous. Yeah, it's like a little dog. You think the dog doesn't bite. You put the dog to the corner, you kick it at a certain point, that dog will probably bite you. The case of Uganda. Uganda is probably not a lion, maybe a dog in front of America. But if you put that dog in a corner, by sanctioning, by removing visas, by not sending the money you used to send anymore, by blocking them from acquiring any money from World Bank, by now kicking them off AGOA, they have nothing to lose anymore. And trust me, don't teach people to live without you. Don't tempt people like that. I always say it. When you want to punish somebody for whatever reason, you want to correct them, do not correct somebody for way too long. That's very dangerous. Some people use, the silence treatment. When you use a silence treatment, I hate it. When people use silent treatment against other people, don't do it for too long. Do it just moderately and use whatever you have to use a lesson on top of it. Listen, the reason why I did not speak to you is because of this, that. Can we talk about it? Don't silence treatment somebody for 3, 5, 7 days, a week, 2 weeks, and expect them to be the same. They're going to learn to live without you. And trust me, by the time you want to try to come back, they're not there anymore. They don't care about you anymore. they realize that you're actually toxic. You don't want to do that at any scale, whether you're a country or a human being. You don't want to push everybody to one corner, trying to force them. Just the way Russia has learned to survive with our Europeans. I think we all need peace. Let me just put it that way. Why are we fighting each other? What is the purpose of war right now? That's my question. I can only see one purpose. It's selling weapons and making money for the companies that are selling weapons. So what is the purpose of, we want to have our collaborators, our partners, so we can destroy? We don't need partnership in destruction. Who needs partnerships with destruction? We need peace. We need respect. We need real democracy. Democracy is respecting people's land. Respect people's land. Democracy is respecting other people's culture and tradition and not come and bother them. That's democracy. Democracy is respecting other people's way of life. You don't know how they started. They've been that way for thousands of years. It's not for you to come and correct them. You are nobody's father. Democracy is respecting even the weak ones, those who have nothing to offer. The poor people, at least the one that you deem are poor, because many people may look poor financially in your terms, but in their own realm, they're not poor at all. They're happy. African kids are not all poor. The kids you see on TV playing soccer with a big stomach running in the field, they're actually very rich. The truth is, taking away that has been catastrophic to many African nations. We grew up in a neighborhood playing soccer, jumping the trees, climbing walls, playing physically, doing natation, swimming in the rivers. We grew up in the most beautiful way. And we were told that was poor. Rich means sitting in front of a cell phone or a computer all day. That's not rich. Rich is communication we had. The brotherhood, the familyhood, knowing everybody in your neighborhood. That was rich. That was wealth. Eating organic food. Living in the most beautiful, sunny place with no issue, no wars. That was beautiful. Most wars are inflicted and conducted and initiated by greed. That's the bottom line. Most wars are initiated by greed because somebody wants to touch something that does not belong to them. Thank you very much, fellas. It was a great pleasure. Russia is going to acquire ballistic missiles from Iran. Iran is not very much liked. They've been sanctioned for a long time. And America is very worried because they know the more cooperation there is between Russia and Iran, that would mean Iran will acquire more technology in terms of weaponry, and Russia will be stable because they're going to balance each other. And that is not something they want to see. But then the question arises, why do you need so many enemies? God bless.